Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Let's get it. So we get some people up in here, man. We getting started with this. It is what it is. Shout out to everybody. Yeah. Salute. Let's get it started. Yeah. Tapping on in. Tapping on in. Mm. Let's go. Yeah. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Let's get it. What it is.
You got this one sister that's very frustrated with the Latino community in Texas, the way they voted in the recent election with James Talarico and Jasmine Crockett. I want you to hear what this sister has to say, but let's get into it.
I'm going to remain calm as I say this. But once again, the Latino vote tipped the scales so the other person can win in Texas over Jasmine Crockett.
Hit the like button. It ain't nothing. Now, black woman feels betrayed by Latinos. Like, why would you feel betrayed by Latinos? Latinos vote the way that they vote. It'd be one thing if Latinos all of a sudden switched up and started to vote different, but that's not the case. Latinos have always voted the same. So why would you feel betrayed? They have no loyalty to you. They have loyalty to their own community. That's not even something to get mad at. When you understand, you understand. There's no way that the Latinos was going to vote for Jasmine Crockett. They're not going to do it. So no, the Latinos did not betray you. The Latinos did exactly what they always been doing. They didn't switch up. They stayed true to their roots. They stayed true to the way that they always vote. So I don't know why these women are running around talking about, oh, the Latinos betrayed us. No, they did not. When you know, you know. They have no loyalty to you. Their loyalty goes to their people in their own community. They can give a damn about a black and brown coalition. Man, listen. Latinos and Mexicans are going to do what's best for them. Now, they might vote against their best interests, but guess what? FBA people have voted against their best interests for the last 60 years. Let's talk about it.
You got this one sister that's very frustrated with the Latino community in Texas, the way they voted in the recent election with James Talarico and Jasmine Crockett. I want you to hear what this sister has to say, but let's get into it.
I'm going to remain calm as I say this. But once again, the Latino vote tipped the scales so the other person can win in Texas over Jasmine Crockett. Just like they tipped the scales for Kamala. And I want to say this respectfully with disrespect. When y'all are once again the primary target, do not, I repeat, do not look for any Black people to assist you with their voice, because we already aren't out in the streets, but now we're gonna stay completely silent. We are tired of being betrayed by another person of color. I personally, if it's not a Black issue, don't even look to me to say nothing. Don't even look to me to say nothing. Since you want to keep voting against your own interests,
I got news for you, lady. Them Mexicans don't care, man. They don't care. They don't need your help. Now, they'll use you if they can, but do they really care? Absolutely not. Latinos are going to vote the way that they always voted. White women are going to vote the way that they always voted. Let me tell you something, Black women. White women voted for male leadership. They didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. The majority of white women voted for Donald Trump and not Hillary Clinton. So what does that tell you? White women believe in the patriarchy. They don't believe in a matriarchal society. So white women will never vote the same way that Black women vote. Latinos will never vote the same way that Black people vote. Get over it. Learn what it is. Deal with the reality. Learn how to embrace the facts. Latinos will never vote in the best interest of Black Americans, foundational Black Americans. White women will never vote like Black women. Why? Because white women believe in a patriarchy, which is why the overwhelming majority of white women voted for Donald Trump and not Hillary Clinton. Black women, on the other hand, they will vote for female leadership, but white women, the majority of white women are not going to vote for female leadership. Once you understand that, maybe you will learn to embrace it.
Of being betrayed by another person of color. I personally, if it's not a Black issue, don't even look to me to say nothing. Don't even look to me to say nothing. Since you want to keep voting against your own interests, look to the people that also vote like you, because they don't give a damn about you either. So don't look to us. Tired of being betrayed. I'm actually worried about the 2026 midterms because you don't learn your lesson and you're probably still going to vote Republican. So respectfully, disrespectfully.
Here's the thing that you have to understand, about Texas, because I'm here in Texas. A lot of Latinos are naturally conservative, and they've been voting that way.
They've been voting that way. This is the thing. I don't know why Black people are mad at Latinos. Latinos are going to vote the same way that they've been voting. They're not going to vote in the best interest of Black folks. They're not. Well, to be honest, let me tell you, they did. The majority of Latinos who voted for Donald Trump actually voted in the best interest of foundational Black Americans. So you ought to be glad that Latinos voted against their best interest. You ought to be glad that they voted for mass deportation. Foundational Black Americans voted for open borders, while Latinos voted for mass deportation. So let me tell you how backwards the Latino community is and the FBA community is. The majority of foundational Black Americans voted for Kamala Harris, meaning they voted for open borders. And we understand how illegal immigration hurts the Black community. Los Angeles is a prime example of how illegal immigration hurts the Black community. There's no better example than Los Angeles, California. So Latinos voted for mass deportation. Foundational Black Americans voted for open borders. So in reality, Latinos voted in the best interest of foundational Black Americans when they voted for Donald J. Trump. That's the reality that most people don't want to deal with. So you ought to be thanking Latinos for voting the way that they voted. You may say, well, they voted against their best interest. True, I agree. But they also voted for the best interest of foundational Black Americans to get these immigrants up out of the damn country. Foundational Black Americans, on the other hand, you voted for Kamala Harris. The majority of you did. You voted for open borders. If you voted for Kamala Harris, you ought to be embarrassed.
Here in Texas.
Actually worried about the 2026 midterms because you don't learn your lesson and you're probably still going to vote Republican. So respectfully, disrespectfully.
Here's the thing that you have to understand, about Texas, because I'm here in Texas. A lot of Latinos are naturally conservative, and they've been voting that way. But on paper, their votes are split, but they vote more conservative. Why do they vote more conservative? Well, if you understand the community, most of the community is Catholic.
And that's crazy. You're right about that. Blacks in Los Angeles vote Democrat more than Latinos, which is stupidity. This is my thing. This is why I don't like hearing the tether conversation, because FBA people have voted against their own best interests. You voted to bring the tethers. Oh, let me tell FBA people, you guys voted to bring all these tethers and illegal immigrants over here based on the fact that you've been voting Democrat for the last 60 years. You're complaining about the same thing that you voted for. You voted to bring all these tethers over here. You voted to keep these damn borders open. Let's talk about it.
And because their community is Catholic, which they say Christian, right? Then there's certain tenets of the Democrat Party that they're not going to get down with. Let me give you an example. If you are a community that believes more in family creation, a lot of marriages, they're pretty big on family. They are. Then you can't get down with abortion. Sorry, that's against their faith. This is
foundational Black Americans voted for they voted to bring these tethers over here because they voted for democratic policies that allowed these illegals to come into the country. So the unfortunate reality of it is this: foundational Black Americans voted to bring these same tethers over here, the same tethers that they don't like. You voted to keep these borders open for the illegal immigrants and tethers to come over. You gave all these tethers and illegals the opportunity to come to this country to undermine you. Foundational Black Americans, you voted for this nonsense. You put these people in position to overthrow you because you've been voting Democrat for the last 60 years. You have nobody to blame but yourself. Ain't nobody forcing you to stay on that Democratic plantation. Ain't nobody tell you to vote for damn open borders. You voted for the same tethers that you are now complaining about. Now let's talk about Latinos. Latinos are crying about mass deportation, but guess what? Latinos voted for mass deportation, so they can't sit up there and cry about it. FBA can't cry about tethers. Latinos can't cry about mass deportation. I'm giving you the facts. Now, how many content creators are going to tell you that?
100. They don't believe in that. And we didn't believe in it at one point in time either. Unfortunately, that has changed. The Democrat Party heavily promotes LGBT. They don't promote it like that. Once again, it goes back to, going to mass and all of that, being Catholic. They're not going to promote a party where they feel that party is against, their Catholic faith. Those two tenets right there, okay? I would tell you, if the Democrat Party stopped talking about abortion and LGBT and just stuck to regular issues like working man and woman's issues, and also another thing, immigration. They don't want to hear about a bunch of mass immigration here in Texas because a lot of them people come in their in the towns where they live. So in the Rio Grande Valley, you have a lot of towns, and these towns are majority Mexican towns, but a lot of times people cross the border, they stay right there in those towns because they can blend in a lot better down there. Versus if they say they come up here to Houston, go to Dallas, where, even though they got Latinos here, they stand out still, right? But versus down there, it's so many of them that if I came in the country illegally, I would stay there too. Because I have a lower probability of getting caught versus if I move somewhere else. So that's what a lot of it is. Then another aspect. Because of that, they side with white Republicans. On top of that, look at, let's say, what Black people.
It is a known fact that Latinos side with white Republicans, man. So why would Black people or Black women feel betrayed? Latinos are doing what they always been known to do, voting for white Republicans. So why would you feel betrayed knowing the behavior patterns of Latinos, understanding on how they vote? When you understand the way they vote, when you understand how they do things, why would you feel betrayed? Somebody didn't do their homework. Nobody in a right mind would be shocked. Nobody in a right mind would feel betrayed when you look at the way that Latinos vote. They've always voted this way. I feel betrayed for what?
Well, black people vote Democrat wholesale, but black people don't vote Democrat because the main driver is abortion or the main driver is LGBT. That's not the main driver why black people vote Democrat. But a lot of them not going to get down with a Jasmine Crockett. Then you have another layer of people who want a proximity to whiteness. That's a layer within their particular community. And it also plays into their votes as well. If we just going off of a logical perspective and not an emotional one, because her reaction was emotional. She was expecting the Latino community to do something that only we can do. And let's keep 100. A lot of black people sat it out. Not every black person in Texas voted in this election.
He's right. A lot of black people did sit it out, right? But let's be real. The overwhelming majority of FBA people who did voted for open borders because they voted for Kamala Harris. See, that was an argument right there. A lot of people made that argument in my comment section. Well, a lot of us set it out. Okay, we understand a lot of black people didn't vote. I'm speaking about the FBA people who did vote. The overwhelming majority of FBA people who did vote voted for Kamala Harris. And if you voted for Kamala Harris, you voted for open borders. Let that register. Hopefully it marinates.
They didn't. So with that being said, it's just a lot of layers to that. Now, some of them are making comments and I've addressed some of these comments on other platforms. But realistically, it's going to be a hard sell to get a lot of them to vote, especially in Texas, Democrat. It's going to be very hard. That's why Talarico, if black folks don't come out to vote, he gonna lose. He's gonna lose. See, this primary, people can go vote in the primary just to get Jasmine Crockett out of there. But once he go to the general election and square off against either Ken Paxton or John Cornyn, then you're going to see what kind of support he really got. You're going to see. Now, a lot of you thought the ICE raids would get a lot of them to change their votes and vote for Democrat. No, because for some of them, that's a vote for LGBT and a vote for abortion. They just can't do it. They can't. And that's just a reality of a lot of things with Latinos here in Texas. So I feel what she's saying, but look, turn that anger into a positive. Say, you know what? I'm going to be focusing on black people, like you said, and black people only, and keep it there. Only what we got going on. Other groups of people can clearly handle.
No, that's a good thing. FBA need to focus on what we got going on. Never mind what everybody else got going on. But listen, FBA people have been voting for Democrats for the last 60 years, maybe even longer than that. You've been on that plantation for too long. You're way too loyal to a group of people that's never been loyal to you. Why do black people feel that? Why do blacks feel the need to be loyal to the Democratic Party? For what? We don't owe these people no loyalty. We don't owe Republicans no loyalty. We owe loyalty to ourselves. Vote for what's in our best interest. When I see black people talking about I'm a Democrat or I'm a damn Republican, you a damn dummy. That's what the hell you are. Black folks need to be independent thinkers. We need to vote for things that are best for us. Not being loyal to the Democratic Party, not being loyal to the Republican Party. We need to be loyal to ourselves and ourselves only. Wake up and smell the coffee.
They don't need our help with nothing. Focus on us and what we got going on, and we will all be fine. The problem is, for years, y'all believing in a black-brown coalition that's non-existent. The brown community didn't ask for a coalition. Groups like LULAC didn't ask for a coalition. That was black folks literally begging them. Let's call it what it is. You've been begging Latinos for a coalition for a long time.
Now, this shows you how lost in the sauce black people are. Why would you beg Latinos for anything? Now, Latinos will say black and brown when it's something beneficial for them, but do they truly believe in it? Absolutely not. Only black folks are foolish enough to believe in a black and brown coalition. Latinos only talk about black and brown when they want to use us for something. They'll use us, but they're not unified with us. Latinos are smart enough to say we're going to use these Negroes for what we can use them for, but we're not going to align with them. Absolutely not. How could there ever be a black and brown coalition when it's a known fact that foundational black Americans and Latinos vote differently? Based on that fact alone, there can never be no coalition. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same. Our needs and priorities are different.
We're begging them literally. They didn't come to us and say, yeah, let's have an alliance and let's work together. They ain't come to us with that. Latinos for a coalition for a long time. You've been begging them literally.
Yeah.
They didn't come to us and say, yeah, let's have an alliance and let's work together. They ain't come to us with that.
I don't need to interview Latinos. I can see how they vote. If you study the voting patterns of Latinos, that tells you everything you need to know. The overwhelming majority of Latinos will vote for white Republicans. It is documented. That is a historical fact. I don't need to hear what you're saying. I can pay attention to what you're doing. Why do I need to hear what they're saying when I can pay close attention to what they've been doing for the last 60 years? And what is that? Voting for white Republicans. That is what Latinos do. Action speaks louder than words.
Black people is the one that kept saying black and brown, black and brown, black and brown, black and brown, black and brown. And when something happened with them or whatever, they don't say brown and black. Brown and they never said brown and black as a collective of people. So with that being said, you know, learn from this lesson. Unify in our own community. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has said that our unity is stronger than any atomic bomb. And he's right by that. That's why they want to keep us divided so much in the black community, because they don't want us together. Because when we come together, it's nothing that we can't do as a community. So use that anger instead of folks throwing the anger at Latinos. Let's use that energy and focus it within our own community and help our community pop off, grow, and do everything and thrive. That's what we can do. Our educators, you know, hey, they need to start some schools. The reason why so many people even donate to Dr. Umar.
The needs of Latinos are different from the needs of foundational black Americans, which that should have told black people a long time ago. It's impossible to have a coalition when our needs are different, when we vote different. How you gonna have a coalition with a group of people who think different than you, who vote different than you? I mean, make it make sense. Are you really that dumb to believe that there's a coalition? Their needs and wants are completely different from ours as foundational black Americans. So there can never be no damn coalition. Not really. Why would you even want that as a foundational black Americans? Who helped foundational black Americans to get civil rights? Latinos didn't. They sat on the sidelines, and once the bill got passed, they pulled up for the benefits. But Latinos was not on the front line with black folks when we got dog sicked on us, when they put power hoses on us, when they arrested us and threw us in jail for standing up for ourselves. The Latinos was not on the front line with us. So why do you expect a coalition with a group of people who have their own fights, who have their own struggles, who got to fight their own battles? What's beneficial to us is not beneficial for them, and vice versa. So at that particular point, there can never be no real coalition. Man, listen.
A lot of black people, schools are very important for our children. And I wish Dr. Umar would have had the school up and running for years already. But unfortunately, you know, we know that situation. But if we support black people, we can have a bunch of schools for our children. But they never got to go to a public school. So let's just think about that. Let's take this energy and use it to benefit black Texas, black America. Because focusing on what Latinos not doing, that's not going to help us cross the line of anything or move.
Right, like arguing about Latinos and the way they vote is stupid. Latinos are going to vote the way that they always voted. plain and simple. It's a waste of time being mad at them. Instead of you being mad at Latinos, you need to focus on what's best for you and foundational Black Americans.
It's not. We can't focus on what Latinos are doing or not doing. We got to focus on Black America.
This is why I don't waste time talking about tethers all the time, because I understand this. This is what I understand. We have the power to make, listen, now.
This is another sister that's had to find out.
Now, it's cool to put people up on game about how tethers stink, right? But it's a waste of time talking about tethers when foundational Black Americans need to get their own stuff together. The majority of your children are being raised by women, which is a bad thing, which is why these boys don't have masculinity, which is why these girls lack femininity. There's no balance in a Black home. The overwhelming majority of FBA children are being raised and led by women. That is a major problem. I'd rather focus on fixing that See, listen, a lot of FBA people want to hear about tethers, and that's cool. Like, if you want to talk about that, it's cool to talk about it. It's cool to put people up on game. We would do way better as FBA. We focus on fixing our own problems, things that we can fix ourselves. All it requires is a little bit of discipline, a little bit of structure to eliminate these problems. The biggest threat to a foundational Black Americans is another foundational Black American. Foundational Black Americans voted for these immigrants and tethers to come over in the first place. So you're complaining about something that you created. You voted for these open borders. You voted for these tethers to come over. It is time to look in the mirror as foundational Black Americans so that we can fix the problems that need to be fixed. You voted for these tethers to come over. You voted for open borders. You voted to be replaced in Black communities all across the country. Why? Because you continue to vote Democrat and you don't use your damn mind. The same tether, you're complaining about the same tethers, but you voted for these tethers to come over. You voted for these immigrants to come over. And now you want to complain about it later.
You know, the hard way about why white women don't really support them politically. Let's go ahead and check this out.
So as a new resident of Texas, moving here from another red state, I absolutely did not expect white leftists, especially white women, to do what makes better sense when it comes to our politicians and the way that they vote. You guys have proven time and time again that you do not like seeing Black women in positions of power. You are okay as long.
See, this woman is a feminist. See, this is why I criticize a lot of brothers in our FBA community, because a lot of our women are feminists, and these FBA brothers never take the time to call that out. Black women who want female leadership has plagued our community. How you going to talk about white supremacy but never address feminism? And how the majority of women in the FBA community voted for female leadership. Shit, the majority of Black men in our community voted for female leadership. The Black community does not believe in patriarchy. How in the hell can you align a group of people that believe in a matriarchal society? How you going to organize foundational Black Americans when the overwhelming majority of foundational Black Americans believe in a matriarchal society? If you don't believe me, why did the majority of them who voted for Kamala Harris? Because they believe in female leadership. This woman right here is a stone cold feminist. Talk about white supremacy, but won't call out feminism, won't call out the women that embrace it, won't call out the Black men who think and operate like women. That is a major problem in the FBA community.
White leftists, especially white women, to do what makes.
Let me take it from the top. I'm going to be quiet. Talking about white supremacy, but won't call out feminism. Man, please, I ain't finna listen to that crap. The hell I look like listening to that? You're going to talk about white supremacy and tethers, but never call out the feminists in our own community. Let me tell you something. And shout out to the beautiful black women that understand this, because I got black women who do understand, but unfortunately, the majority of them don't. What percentage of FBA women want to live and operate in a matriarchal society versus the ones who want to operate in a patriarchal society? Give me your thoughts in the comments. I'm just a messenger. Don't get mad at me. This is observation. That's all it is.
The hard way about why white women don't really support them politically. Let's go ahead and check this out.
So, as a new resident of Texas, moving here from another red state, I absolutely did not expect white leftists, especially white women, to do what makes better sense when it comes to our politicians and the way that they vote. You guys have proven time and time again that you do not like seeing black women in positions of power. You are okay as long as we are giving all the attitude, calling everyone out, and we stay in positions that are frontline positions that makes us be of service to leadership, but you have no desire in seeing us in leadership roles. That is very evident. And so I saw someone on Twitter saying,
well, there's nothing wrong with embracing femininity. See, there's a difference between being feminine versus being a feminist. There's a major difference. And FBA people get mad at me for telling the truth. And I'm a foundational black American myself. I've been speaking for foundational black Americans for years, but people get mad at me for my stance on black women. And I'm not saying the things that I say about black women out of hatred. I'm saying it out of love. What percentage of FBA women want to live in a matriarchal society versus the percentage of FBA women who want to live in a patriarchal society? Give me your thoughts in the comments.
It is now the attitude, calling everyone out, and we stay in positions that are frontline positions that makes us be of service to leadership, but you have no desire in seeing us in leadership roles. That is very evident. And so I saw someone on Twitter saying it is now time for us, black women and black people, to step back and make leftists, specifically white women, win this election in November. Since Talarico was your choice, you need to make sure he gets into office. And I have never been a person that's called for us not to vote or sit out. I've always exercised my right to vote, and I've always been an advocate for people to exercise their right to vote and have their voice be heard. But I think it is time that we give you the energy you keep giving us and make you do the work. You no longer get to sit in this group project and get the credit without doing the work. So since you have shown us you do not like black,
it's all good, Adi head. Let me tell you something, black women. Matriarchal societies has hurt the black community. When the black community was a patriarchal society, you seen more marriages, you seen more structure. Once black women became feminists and the black community became a matriarchal society, you start to see all this corruption and dysfunction. Children being raised and led by women, which is a complete disaster. What percentage of FBA women want to live in a matriarchal society versus the percentage of FBA women who want to live in a patriarchal society? Give me some feedback in the comments.
Women making decisions. You do not like black women in positions of power. You should have the responsibility.
Women should never be in a position of power over men. It goes against the word of God. Female leadership has destroyed the black community. Let me say that to you people who are lost in the sauce. Female leadership has destroyed the FBA community. God never intended for women to be in positions of power over men. That is not natural. That is backwards. But for some reason, most FBA people have embraced it. When you're raised by a single mother, you believe that female leadership is normal. Amen. Let me say it again. When you are raised by a single mother, female leadership is normal to you. But in reality, it is dysfunctional and backwards.
Right to vote and have their voice be heard. But I think it is time that we give you the energy you keep giving us and make you do the work. You no longer get to sit in this group project and get the credit without doing the work. So since you have shown us you do not like Black women making decisions, you do not like Black women in positions of power, you should have the responsibility by yourself to fight your friends, your church members, your family members, and you should have to go up against them to win this election. You're not going to get to sit this one out and expect us in November to come and save the day. That shit is over.
Well, sister, listen. On the job, anytime any Black woman has gotten any supervisory role that I've seen, their greatest person that would give them a problem is not even white men. It's the white woman. Surely Black men don't give them problems. I've seen on jobs where if a Black woman's attractive and the men are acknowledging that, they get jealous of you. They're trying to sabotage you constantly, report on you, going there with looking at you and going into the office telling. Then you getting pulled into the office like, what am I getting pulled in the office for? You know what I'm saying? If they don't treat you a certain way on the job or in
when you are, listen, homies, when you are raised in a single mother-led home, female leadership is normal, but in reality, that is dysfunctional. Dysfunction has become normal to people who were raised in single mother-led homes, which is why they want a matriarchal society. Female leadership has destroyed the FBA community. You give a group of women money and put them in a position of power over men, you have a backwards community. You just created a hyena society and don't even realize it. That's the sad part.
any other interactions that you had, why would you think they would treat you right or prioritize you politically? That's just not going to happen. And I'm glad this Talarico and Jasmine Crockett fiasco happened because it opened up the eyes of a lot of sisters. I'm going to say the last little bit of sisters.
Listen, man, if you see somebody in an FBA community talking about white supremacy all damn day, but they never talk about feminism and how most people in our community want female leadership, they want a matriarchal society. If they never address that, they are fraudulent, they are fake. They're no different than your black pastors at the black church. They're no different than the black preachers at the black church. They are pandering to black women for money, but never hold them accountable for anything. I'm not saying we need to shit on our women because I love black women, but at some point we have to correct our women, just like we got to correct our men, little boys and girls. All of them deserve, all of them need correction. If you claim to be a foundational black American, you talk about white supremacy, but you never talk about feminism and how that destroyed our community, how feminism has created female leadership in black communities. If you're an FBA and you don't talk about that, you're fake, you're fraudulent. You're no different than a black pastor at the black church. You're pandering. You ain't talking about what's real, talking about tethers and white supremacy. Okay, cool, I get it. I talk about tethers and white supremacy. Yes, I do. But at the same time, I talk about feminism and how that has destroyed the family structure in the black community, how feminism has destroyed the black family structure. Why? Because you got a lot of women who believe in female leadership. They want a matriarchal society, and matriarchal, matriarchal societies has destroyed the FBA community. Because once these women became feminists and they embraced that movement, they started to believe that they didn't need men. They felt like money can replace the role of a man. A female feminist truly believes that money can replace the role of a man. Why do you think you have so many women in our community who got an education or maybe have a good job? And those are the same women who feel like they don't need men because they feel like money can replace the role of a man, and they're sadly mistaken. Money can never replace the role of a man in your children's life. But if you're a feminist, you don't want to understand that. You don't want to embrace that. You want to go against that. Money can never replace the role of a man. And that is something that black women don't understand, at least the majority of them, not all of them. There's too many black women out there who feel like money and education can replace the role of a man. Why do you think you see so many black women with decent jobs who be running around saying, I don't need no man, I can pay my own bills? Money can never replace the role of a man, baby. Money can never replace that. But when you've been indoctrinated to be a feminist, you believe that nonsense. Matter of fact, you spread that nonsense to black women globally.
The majority of sisters have been waking up. But that last little bit, it was kind of clinging on to hope for some sort of minority coalition or coalition with white women. You finally see you do not have a coalition. You may have a minority of them that will, support your causes, but it's not going to be the majority because the majority believe in white supremacy. So they cannot join our causes.
Haven't you guys noticed whenever I start talking this real shit, a lot of these women drop off and they don't want to listen? A lot of FBA people in general drop off when the Red Supreme start kicking this real game. They don't want to hear the damn truth. So they flee and they flock to channels that don't hold women accountable. Well, I'm going to go to such and such channel. He ain't going to hold black women accountable. He just going to talk about immigrants and tethers all day. Yeah, I'll just go over there. I don't want to listen to Red Supreme. King Supreme is going to hold us accountable. I don't want to listen to that. And that's exactly what they do. They run away from the truth. And they listen to these pastors and preachers in the FBA community who never hold women accountable. They talk about white supremacy all day, but never talk about feminism and how they never talk about how female leadership has destroyed the FBA community. Most of these black men are too afraid to talk about that because they're weak. Too afraid to tell your women the truth. Female leadership has destroyed the FBA community. But the majority of these black male FBA content creators never want to talk about it. They ignore it and pretend like it ain't a major problem. The moment King Supreme start talking his real spit, they evaporate, they disappear, they don't want to hear it.
And the sabotage is the white woman. Sure, the black men don't give them problems. I've seen on jobs where if a black woman's attractive and the men are acknowledging that, they get jealous of you. They're trying to sabotage you constantly, report on you, looking at you and going into the office telling. Then you getting pulled into the office like, what am I getting pulled in the office for? You know what I'm saying? If they don't treat you a certain way on the job or any other interactions that you had, why would you think they'll treat you right or prioritize you politically? That's just not going to happen. And I'm glad this Talarico and Jasmine Crockett fiasco happened because it opened up the eyes of a lot of sisters. I'm going to say the last little bit of sisters because the majority of sisters have been waking up. But that last little bit, it was kind of clean.
I disagree with that, Phil. I wouldn't say that the majority of black women have woke up. I wouldn't say that the majority of black men have woke up. That is a bold-faced lie. And I got love for you, Phil, and I rock with you. But the majority of black women have not woke up. Why? Because if a woman ran for president again, 90% of FBA women will vote for female leadership. So we can't say that black women have woke up. That is not true. A lot of black men are still unaliving each other, simping for women, putting women in a position to disrespect them. So the majority of FBA men are not woke. The majority of FBA women are not woke. The FBA community is a matriarchal society if we're speaking for the majority of people in that community. So no, the majority of black women are not woke. The majority of black men are not woke. That is a complete joke. It's not true. The majority of FBA people are still lost in the damn sauce, which is why they voted for female leadership in the first place.
On a hope because it opened up the eyes of a lot of sisters. I'm going to say the last little bit of sisters because the majority of sisters have been waking up.
No.
But that last little bit, it was kind of clinging on to hope for some sort of minority coalition or coalition with white women. You finally see you do not have a coalition. You may have a minority of them that will, support your causes, but it's not going to be the majority because the majority believe in white supremacy.
Shout out to Ryder Prophet for the 10 on the Cash App. Shout out to Donald W for the 20 on the Cash App. Shout out to Tiffany for the 30 on the Cash App. Shout out to my girl Lisa for the 20. I appreciate my people for supporting the content. Let's get some more of you brothers support. Let's get some more of you brothers to support this content. I am speaking for y'all. I'm speaking for FBA people in general. The majority of these people in our community are still asleep. They ain't woke.
So they cannot join our causes because our causes is anti-white supremacy. That's our causes. We don't stand up for things that's wrong. We stand up.
Let me say this, man. 72% of black men voted for Kamala Harris. That proves that the majority of FBA men are not woke. 92% of black women FBA women who voted for Kamala Harris. That proves that they are not woke. These are not woke people. 70, let this marinate on your mind 10 times. 72% of black men who did voted for Kamala Harris. Those brothers are not woke. They voted for open borders and female leadership. 92% of FBA women who voted for Kamala Harris, which means they voted for open borders and female leadership. You can't call a group of people like that woke. That is a complete joke. They are not woke at all. The overwhelming majority of foundational black Americans voted for a matriarchal society. They voted for open borders and female leadership, which is why they voted for Kamala Harris by the majority. They're not woke. These people are still asleep. They are not woke.
Things that was right. And that's just the bottom line. We will always have a difference until they are ready to sit down and go ahead and sign reparations in the form of cash payments, an anti-black hate crime bill, and anything else that we may need. That's the only way they can fix it. Outside of that, it's going to be just a problem. I think this generation should solve.
I agree with you, brother. He said female leaderships advocates for homosexuality in our community. It does. Female leadership creates more. Female leadership creates, I think you know what I'm getting to, and I don't want to say it because I want to keep it PG-13. Let's continue. Female leadership creates lesbianism and rainbow community agendas. Female leadership is terrible for any community. Why do you think the majority of white women voted for Donald Trump and not Hillary Clinton? Because white women are smart enough to understand what a matriarchal society would do to the white community. They're smart enough to understand that. Which is why the majority of white women voted for patriarchy. Because white women understand the detriment that will have to this. They understand the problems that will create in their community. Female leadership. White women understand that. And that ain't me praising white women. That's just me telling the damn truth. White women are smart enough to understand that matriarchal societies will destroy their communities. They understand that. For some reason, black people don't understand that, but white people do. White men and white women understand that matriarchal societies destroys your community. White people understand that. For some reason, foundational black Americans don't get it, but they claim to be woke. They claim to be conscious, when in reality, they're nothing but a bunch of female feminists and male feminists.
That's the only way they can fix it. Outside of that, it's going to be just a problem. I think this generation should solve it immediately. And it could, but they just don't want to. I'm not talking about black Americans either when I say that. I'm talking about the folks. So, no, they're not here to save you. You can't ally. You ally with a black man. You ally with a black woman. That's who you ally with. We work very good together. That's why they don't want us working together. They want to keep us apart from each other with stupidity, all the craziness people say online, all of that to keep brothers and sisters apart, make you think all sisters out here just being transactional and on the blade. And then if you listen to everybody talk online, you think every dude's a dog, every dude out here cheating.
Listen, I'm going to be real. We have some black women that woke up who see the truth, but that's only maybe like 20-something%. The overwhelming majority of FBA women still believe in a matriarchal society and female leadership, and you can't tell me I'm lying. Why do you think 92% of them voted for Kamala Harris? That proves my point. Yes, we have some black women are woke, but those black women only represent 20-something% of the population. The rest of them believe in a matriarchal society and female leadership. Why? Because the majority of FBA women are feminists. That's the unfortunate. That's not me bashing them. That's me being honest about what's going on. Now, if you want somebody to lie to you, go to one of those FBA channels that talk about tethers and white supremacy all day, but they never hold their own people accountable for the nonsense they do. Go over there to one of those channels. Flock to those channels. They're no different than the black pastors and the black preachers at the black church. They pander to women and never tell them the truth. So flock to those FBA channels. They'll talk about tethers and white supremacy all day, but they'll never address feminism and how that has destroyed patriarchy in our community. How you gonna talk about white supremacy and never talk about feminism? Man, please.
Or they DL, or you be thinking all that mess. That's why I tell people back off the internet sometime with people doing that. And also look at them. Like, what are they?
How you gonna talk about white supremacy but never talk about the feminist movement and how that has affected the FBA community drastically? The majority of our women in the FBA community still believes in female leadership in a matriarchal society. That is a major problem. But for some reason, these FBA content creators who talks about FBA issues, most of these black men never touch on that. They're too afraid to touch on that because they're too afraid to offend the women, which is why they never tell them the truth in the first place. So they avoid talking about feminism and how that has affected leadership and patriarchy in the FBA community. They refuse to talk about it, but to sit up there and talk about tethers and white supremacy all damn day, while ignoring the elephant in the damn room.
Doing in their life. I'm sorry, I don't take marriage advice from people who aren't married.
Man, most of these black men who talk about FBA issues, they talk about tethers and white supremacists. They never talk about feminism and how that has affected patriarchy in our community. They won't talk about it because they're too afraid to offend the black women that support them. If those black women truly loved you and supported you, they would believe in what you're saying and they would say, brother, you are right. It is time for us to fix it. But instead of these FBA men standing on business, they ignored the elephant in the room as if the problem doesn't exist. So they'll talk about tethers and white supremacists all day, but they'll never talk about the feminist movement and how that has destroyed the patriarchy in the FBA community. They ignore it. They ignore that shit as if it ain't a damn problem. That's what I'm talking about. We got a bunch of weak men who are pandering to women for YouTube subscribers and numbers, but they never address how feminism has destroyed the patriarchy in our community and why so many of our women believe in a matriarchal society and female leadership still to this day. They won't talk about that. They're too afraid to address it. I'm not saying you got to bash black women and call them names, but at some point you got to stand up and be a damn man and correct your own women.
I don't take relation. You can't ally. You ally with a black man. You ally with a black woman. That's who you ally with. We work very good together. That's why they don't want us working together. They want to keep us apart from each other with stupidity, all the craziness people say online and all of that to keep brothers and sisters apart. Make you think all sisters out here just being transactional and on the blade. And then if you listen to everybody talk online, you think every dude's a dog, every dude out here cheating, or they DL, or you be thinking all that mess. That's why I tell people back off the internet sometime with people doing that. And then also look at them. Like, what are they doing in their life? I'm sorry, I don't take marriage advice from people who aren't married. I don't take relationship advice from people.
I don't take relationship advice or marriage advice from black men who are simps. I don't give a damn how long you've been married, nigga. You still a simp. Listen, what I'm saying is this. I don't take dating or marriage advice from black men who are simps. I don't give a damn how long you've been married. I know a lot of simps that's been married for years and they woman wear the damn pants and that marriage. So when somebody tells me, I've been married for 15, 20 years, it doesn't matter if you were simp. If you're not the leader of that household, I don't give a damn how long you've been married, fool. Your woman wears the pants. Your woman run the show. You can't come up here and say, I've been married for 20 years. I don't give a damn. You a simp. There's a lot of simps that stayed in marriages and they are miserable in those damn marriages and they put up with a whole bunch of nonsense. Saying that you've been married for 15 to 20 years doesn't matter if you are a simp and you are not the leader of that damn marriage. It doesn't matter at that point. Well, I've been married for 20 years, and yeah, you've been a simp for the last 30 years. Being married 20 years to a black woman ain't no flex. You ain't the leader of that damn marriage. You ain't the leader of that damn relationship. I don't want to hear nothing.
Who aren't in a relationship in their life. I'm sorry, I don't take marriage advice from people who aren't married.
No.
I don't take relationship advice from people who aren't in a relationship. I just don't. Because I'm like, if you're going to tell me something, putting yourself in a position as an authority, then I need to see that authority enacted in your personal life. You know what I'm saying? It's like somebody trying to give me financial advice, but they ain't got nothing going on. Like, how you gonna tell me, bro? You ain't got nothing going on. So no, white women not gonna come save black women. It's gonna take black women, men, and children to get everything done. And the good news, there's some good news. We can get everything done. All we gotta do is be on code. And after the November election, a lot of black people got on code at that point. But we still got last little bit of people that got to get on code. Some of them may get on more on code now. So they see what happened to the Talarico situation. Let's see what happens. But with sisters, all you got is yourself. That's it. You don't have nobody else.
Let's move on to the next clip.
Now, this one sister is going to look at the video that kind of went viral about the white.
Shout out to Phil Scott, man. Phil Scott is my boy. You know, that's my boy, man. So much love and respect to Phil Scott. I appreciate him for everything he do. That's my brother. I got love for Phil. Let's move on with the content.
Woman that says that she loved Jasmine Crockett, but she voted Talarico. I want you to hear with this sister because let's get back into that conversation.
So yes,
Shout out to Lion Dollars for blessing us with a 10. You did.
we need a fighter. And I was so ready to vote for Jasmine Crockett because I love her. But I voted for Talarico because we need somebody to win.
Happy Women's History Month to Black American women. Watch as white American women abandon us yet again, just like Susan B. Anthony and Lucretia.
The majority of white women believe in patriarchy. The majority of white women believe in a patriarchal society. The majority of FBA women believe in a matriarchal society. So, of course, you're not going to agree. You're not going to vote the same. You are different. You think different and you vote different. Please understand that.
Mott did during women's suffrage. When Black women tell you that we have no allies, this is what we're talking about. These are the same liberal white women who will wear blue bracelets and then stab us in the back at the voting box. Remember, when white people try to throw Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech in your face, you need to throw his letter from a Birmingham jail right back at them, because these are the people he was warning us about.
No. Voting for Jasmine Crockett would be terrible. She's not qualified for the position. Hell no. Jasmine Crockett, man, I didn't vote for Crockett. I didn't vote for Talarico. I didn't vote for Crockett. Hell to the no. Neither one of them. Listen, female leadership has destroyed the FBA community in this country, 100%. So why would we continue to vote for something that has destroyed our community? Man, let's move on.
White liberals, well-meaning people with shallow convictions. This is it. These are the type of women who have yet to unpack their misogynoir and are our biggest obstacle at the voting box. And they're supposed to be on our side.
Well, see, sister, here's the problem. I'm trying to figure out who told y'all that white women is going to abandon white supremacy for y'all. I'm like, who told you that? I don't know, because I never heard them say that. What, you was assuming they're going to abandon it? See, the thing is, a lot of you believe that feminism talked that it was really against a man. No, they was never against their man. What they wanted was a bigger slice of the pie in white supremacy. At medium, they wanted at least half of it. And they wasn't getting half of the pie, and he was dogging them out, treating them just a little bit better than the slave, right? So that was the issue and problem. If he would have gave them everything that he was getting, he ain't had no problem. They don't, and even though they don't get the biggest slice of the pie, they still don't want to be equal with you. They don't. So which is fine. It's okay. I mean, I don't have an issue with it. I mean, if I was them, I wouldn't be in solidarity with you either. And the reason why, because they're looking out for themselves. We have been the only silly people that have been trying to fight battles for everybody else except ourselves. Now what Black American women can do is center Black America. Not I didn't just say Black.
I got to be real with you, Phil. The majority of FBA women believe in a matriarchal society and female leadership. They do. The majority of them believe in that. Where does that come from? It comes from feminism. Once they embraced the feminist movement, they started to promote a matriarchal society and female leadership. The overwhelming majority of our women in the FBA community believe in matriarchal societies and female leadership, and you can't tell me I'm lying.
American women, I said Black America. That means Black American men, children, and women. All of us make the community. They're not your friends. They never have been. How can they be your friend? They owned you. Yes, white women were slave masters too. Read the book, They Were Her Property. White women were slave masters. How is it that you want to be friends with the children of the slave master like they're thinking they're gonna disrupt a system they family built, right? Because they built this oppressive system to be equal to you. It's not, sister, it's not happening. It's not. Your best bet is just to unify with other brothers and sisters in the community, and let's do this thing like we always done it, working together. Because together is the only way we're gonna do it. We're not gonna do it apart. We got to work together. And these wake-up calls that Black folks are getting, it's beautiful. You needed these wake-up calls because in the middle of your wake-up call, you're going to say, you know what? We have nobody but each other, and we're going to work with each other, and guess what? We're going to do the best we've ever did because we're working with each other. But if we're not working with each other, if we're not doing it, then what? We got the same thing we have now.
Listen, man, Black men who were raised by single mothers also believe in female leadership in a matriarchal society. They're no different than the women. They're no different than women, which is why they can't be masculine men, because they think like women. They even vote like women. So Black women, you're complaining about the same men that you're creating. You're raising these young Black boys to believe in a matriarchal society and female leadership. It is impossible for them to grow up and be masculine at that point. Do you really expect for Black men to be masculine when they grew up in a matriarchal society in a single mother-led home? If a Black man believes in a matriarchal society and female leadership, he's not going to be a masculine man. He's not going to embrace masculinity. He's going to embrace femininity because he believes in female leadership based on the way that he was raised. How come Black women don't understand that? Black women, when you promote a matriarchal society and you make female leadership normal, then you turn around and complain about why there's no masculine men. When you just feminize the men that you are raising, the boys that you are raising. How could they grow up to be masculine men when you promoted a matriarchal society and female leadership to these same boys that you are raising, but then got the nerve to complain about, I can't find no masculine Black men? You're raising feminine Black boys. How the hell are they going to grow up to become masculine Black men? When you're raising feminine boys who believes in a matriarchal society and female leadership. You created that monster. Now deal with it.
So don't take this as oh my God, they just did Jasmine Crockett wrong. No, understand they doing what they normally do. And you got to accept, like me, I understand how they vote. I get it. They have been voting Republican and definitely against Black candidates ever since the 1960s, for sure after the Civil Rights Movement. They don't want to work with you like that. Now, if it's going to disrupt their privilege, listen to what the woman said. She's a fighter. They like you to fight, but they don't want you to disrupt their system. You can yell, scream, cuss, act a plumb fool. It's fine, as long as you don't disrupt their system. Now, you're going to disrupt the system, there's going to be a problem. So, no, we like Dr. John Henry Clark said a long time ago, we have no friends. And that's just really what it is. We have no friend, no collective friend. Now, you may have an individual friend, And I'm saying rock with your individual friend. If they rocking with you, rocking with us, no problem. Individuals. But collective of people, no. The collective don't rock with us. And we've seen that so many times.
Oh man, shout out to Field. You already knowing the damn deal. Shout out to Field. All I'm saying is this, man. I say this out of love. I say this because I want our community to be better. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying it because he hates black women. Only an idiot believes that I hate black women.
6 years ago, no one believed that I could become a state representative. We were outspent 5-1.
Shout out to 92 Dolo for blessing us with that 5 on the Cash App. Shout out to my man Elliot for blessing us with a 15 on the Cash App. You know. The majority of black women believe in matriarchal societies and female leadership, which is why they raise feminine boys, because they raise their boys to believe that female leadership is normal. And these will be the same black women that complain about all these feminine black men when they're the ones raising these feminine black boys who grow up to become feminine men. Please understand that. Take your feelings out of it and follow the logic. Can you?
We're outspent 5-1. There were a couple of organizations, progressive organizations, that were like, this is our candidate. We want to go with the one that the establishment does not want. One of the main organizations, and they all lined up together. They did. One of the main organizations was stopped. People said
this woman, right? Let me show you how delusional this woman is. Women are great leaders. This proves that this woman don't believe in God. God told you that women are not fit to be leaders. Men are leaders and not women. So the fact that she's still trying to promote that women are great leaders shows and proves that she's willing to go against the word of God to promote feminism. She's willing to go against the word of God to promote feminism. This woman is a prime example. She don't believe in the word of God because the word of God, God told you in the Bible that female leadership is dysfunctional. Female leadership is not normal. She said, women are great leaders. Don't ever let a man's opinion stop you from your dreams. She's going against the word of God to promote feminism. That's exactly what she's doing. That's why do you think I post this? This is why I tagged it in the damn screen. She don't believe in God. She don't believe in the word of God. Her religion is feminism. Your religion is feminism. You don't give a damn about God. You don't give a damn about God's word. You're willing to promote feminism over the word of God. And I'm using this woman as a prime example. We got a ton of women in our community with that same mindset.
No way. They were like, this is our candidate. We want to go with the one that the establishment does not want. One of the main organizations, and they all lined up together. They did. One of the main organizations was stopped. People said there's no way she's going to win. 6 years later. Yeah. Woo! 6 years later. A very short amount of time. I went from being the kid that no one thought could do it, who was out there hustling, knocking doors, putting door hangers at the apartment complexes, doing everything that I could. We were in the midst of George Floyd. Was that election? No, it was that one. There was a runoff because I was number 2. I wasn't number 1. I made it to the runoff, and then they ended up killing George Floyd. People told me I had to go and get on the phones because we just didn't have the money. And I said, I can't do that. I gotta go do what I know is best. You don't know somebody's circumstance in the middle of this pandemic. I'm not gonna be insensitive and ask for money. Instead, I'm gonna do what I've always done. I'm gonna stand with the people as they take to the streets. There were 600 protesters arrested in Dallas County. Actually,
we need more people to bless that like button. Now, I know we got a lot of haters watching this channel. I've studied the analytics to realize that we got a lot of hate watchers. I've been looking at the like button, and the fact that I got to tell y'all to bless the like button when I'm dropping straight legs game shows me that you guys are it says a lot about the people that's watching. Shouldn't have to tell you guys to bless the damn like button when we got 300 plus people watching. Get the likes up to 300 plus. All you damn hate watchers, even though King Supreme is dropping damn Jews that you can use, daily news. Get it together, you fools. You're hard-headed, you won't pay attention, and you won't listen. Matriarchal societies has destroyed the FBA community. Female leadership has destroyed FBA communities. And guess what? Most people in our communities believe in female leadership in a matriarchal society, which is why the overwhelming majority of FBA people voted for female leadership, which is why they voted for Kamala Harris in the first place. 72% of FBA men voted for Kamala Harris. 92 or 93% of FBA women voted for Kamala Harris. So what does that tell you? It shows you that the FBA community believes in a matriarchal society. That is all the proof that you need right there. And we all know that female leadership has destroyed the Black community, the FBA community, in a major way. Female leadership does not work. You can't build a community with female leadership. And if you don't understand that, then you're just lost in the sauce. You need to be quiet and take 10 seats. Go over there and sit in the corner. Go over there and ride the damn short bus. If you don't understand that, it is plain and simple.
But 600 that we represented pro bono, no one ended up with a conviction. We just did what we wanted to do, which was to help the people. And guess what? The people saw that. There were people that said, we want to help you win because we believe in you. We had over 300 volunteers for a state house race.
This is not America! Okay, I'm so upset. I cannot believe this is happening to our country. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves, Governor Abbott. All y'all. Shame. Shame. Shame on you guys. This is ridiculous. You're going to do whatever you can to suppress our votes. You already gerrymandered everything. And you just got to make it worse. You just got to make it harder, huh?
They did it again, y'all. They did it again. They decided to go with the motherfucker with absolutely no experience than going with a Black woman who is overqualified. Of course. Well, Black people.
Jasmine Crockett is not overqualified, you idiot. Get your ass in the gym and get some common sense, can you? Jasmine is not overqualified. The woman is clearly incompetent. She believes in female leadership in a matriarchal society.
They decided to go with the motherfucker with absolutely no experience than going with a Black woman who is overqualified. Of course. Well, Black people, specifically Black Americans, we're going to lay our ass down. Remember, we thrive in any condition. So let's just keep our cool. We're going to show up in November like we always do. We're going to show up and we're going to vote. I think we need to exercise early voting, Black Americans, come November. Let's get our documents together now. So come November, we are early voting people. Also, this is not our fight. This is not our war. This is not our business. Believe it or not, all the motherfucking Mexicans over there in motherfucking Texas, you would think that they would rally their asses up to go fucking vote. But they didn't. So let's lay our asses down and let the chips fall where they may. Again,
why would Mexicans vote against the way that they're known for voting? Man, this woman is stupid and she's using a whole lot of profanity. Be quiet, Big Shirley. Big Shirley, stop using all that damn profanity, Big Shirley. Your potty mouth, your foul mouth, using curse words every 5 to 10 damn seconds. Get a grip on yourself, Big Shirley. It's too damn early.
I am doing what Black Americans should be doing, and that is what? Lay your ass down.
Jasmine Crockett got the same.
Somebody need to tell Big Shirley to shut up and take 10 seats.
same treatment Kamala Harris and Stacey Abrams got. Last night, Dallas County was not able to finish their voting or their counting due to Republicans who are white men cutting that shit off. And yes, James Talarico won, and I'm not congratulating his ass. A mediocre white man who was racist towards a black man won. And the Republican Party made sure that he would win because they know he ain't about shit. I'm gonna make something very clear. James Talarico, I feel like he's an underhanded Republican. He gonna be another John Fetterman. It's just gonna take some time for that to be unveiled. Jasmine Crockett went in swinging. She didn't even have a district to fight for her. She was boots on the ground for everybody. People in the ICE detention. She was there for disabled people, for black people, for women, for every fucking body. And once again, Texas decided that a mediocre white man was the best thing for y'all. How the fuck has that been going for y'all so far? I'm just asking for a friend.
So the primary elections in Texas happened, and these were elections between James and Jasmine.
Now you got all these Africans talking about conscious issues. Let's see what let's see what the Asian woman had to say about this here.
I'll be back with more commentary.
The Texas primary was a self-fulfilling prophecy. People said that Jasmine Crockett wouldn't win. They heavily scrutinized her positions, her experience, her stances, which fed into more people saying she couldn't win. And subconsciously, everyone remembered how this country does not vote for qualified black women. Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams, I could go on. And so people just kept saying that Jasmine Crockett wouldn't win, and then she didn't. And I'm trying to resolve the paradox here, because why do we keep expecting black women to save us and then not elect them to office? Why are you expecting them to work for free as community organizers at protests where it's very dangerous, but then not give them a salary, a title, and power to actually build up their states, their communities? In watching this campaign, Jasmine Crockett has had to conduct herself perfectly. She's had to answer the same questions, completely unruffled, consistent. I can see how much higher the standard was for her than for her opponent, who doesn't have to deal with the intersection of being a woman and black. And yeah, I'm just wondering, why do even, moderates, even conservatives, keep asking for labor from black people, from black women, and then turn around and say that she's unqualified for office? Georgia could have had Stacey Abrams and the US could have had Kamala Harris. That's all I'm gonna say.
We saw them do this with Stacey Abrams. Egregious. We saw them do this with Kamala Harris. Equally terrible. We just lived through what they did with Jasmine Crockett. Disappointing. And even before that, we had 8 years with Michelle Obama. So we recognize a pattern. And quite honestly, if you zoom in and look at your own local politics, you'll see a pattern of a special type of targeting that is reserved for black women. It's clearly racialized, but there is an element of dehumanization and humiliation. So yeah, you'll see it. I know in Philadelphia, we have our first black woman mayor, our actually first woman mayor. And whether you agree with her politic or not, the way they've treated her is different than the way they've treated other women politicians, or certainly other white men and women politicians. The patterns. I think if you even zoom in a little further and look at your own life, you've been a Stacey, you've been a Kamala, you've been a Jasmine, you've been a Michelle, right? You've had your intellectual property stolen. You've been dehumanized in your workspace, you've been traumatized. Take a look at my first pinned video, right? I don't think there is a black woman alive that has not experienced workplace trauma. I bring this up because as we're all adjusting to this loss with Jasmine Crockett, I have a few takeaways. Some of y'all are in denial about who these folks are, whether they're leftist, liberal, progressive, conservative, Republican, MAGA, kind of all the same. Take a look at this video, because I think social media tricks us into thinking that they're further along than they really are, because they do all the yapping, they have all the right words, but they do none of the work. Therefore, they can't be trusted. And that's okay, because that brings me to my second point. I think a lot of us, sisters specifically, are moving or existing in a space of radical acceptance, right? The difference between acceptance and radical acceptance is, with the latter, I have no expectation of you doing anything than what you've always done. I'm not bargaining with you. I'm not bartering with you. I'm not praying. I'm not hoping that you'll be better. I'm not creating spaces for you to demonstrate to me that you'll be better. We are accepting that you are the monsters that you present yourselves to be, right? And even with radical acceptance, there's an element of empathy because we understand that you became a monster because somebody monstered you and you never were treated. And so you do all your monstering. And my third point is being led by a spirit of radical acceptance. Sisters are now talking about creating spaces for just us. And I don't mean like workspaces. I mean whole universes, a whole matriarchy of Black women. And I like that for us. No, I love that for us because this, quite frankly, is a new world order. Y'all don't want to be a part of anything new, and we do. So the worlds we're creating are for us. And
listen, man, Black women don't want to hear this, but Black women just need to be quiet and do what they're best and do what and do what's best for them. What I'm saying is this woman empowerment movement has destroyed the patriarchy in the Black community. Now they're complaining about why these men aren't masculine because they're being raised by women. How do you expect a group of men to be masculine when they're being raised by women? Their idea of what a real man is comes from a damn woman. And you expect these boys to grow up and be masculine? You expect them to become masculine men when they were raised by women in a matriarchal society and a single mother-led home? Why would you expect a group of men that was raised like that to become masculine? It makes no sense. Female leadership creates feminine men. Female leadership creates feminine Black boys and feminine men. If you don't understand that, then you're just lost in the damn sauce. All these rainbow community men, all these feminine boys, that's the result of Black boys being raised in single mother-led homes. Female leadership, matriarchal societies create feminine boys and feminine young men. Why is that so hard for Black women to understand? Female leadership creates feminine Black boys and feminine men. No masculinity, but a ton of femininity coming from these Black boys that was raised by these females. Oh, but you claim to be intelligent, but you don't understand something as simple as that. Female leadership creates feminine Black boys and feminine men.
Not for you. And I love this. If you haven't thought about what intentional community looks like, I invite you to do some digging and start immediately.
You know, it never seems to amaze me how this...
Why is that so hard to understand? Female leadership creates feminine Black boys. That's exactly what it creates. Lord Jesus, all these people claim to be intelligent, but they don't understand something as simple as that. Crazy. How in the hell you gonna have masculine boys and masculine men when they're being raised by women? Their idea of what a real man is comes from a damn woman. And you expect those same boys to grow up and become masculine. You have unrealistic expectations.
Strategies like nonviolent protests and boycotts. Mexican Americans and African Americans often found solidarity in their shared struggles against discrimination and police brutality, with many African American activists even collaborating with Chicano organizations on protest.
Female leadership creates feminine Black boys and feminine men. Why is that so hard for Black women to understand? That's exactly what it creates.
Did you know that African Americans largely supported the Chicano movement in the 1960s, as both movements shared similar goals of fighting for civil rights and equality against systemic racism? Welcome to History 101. The success of the African American civil rights movement inspired Chicanos to organize and fight for their own rights, adopting similar strategies like nonviolent protests and boycotts. Mexican Americans and African Americans often found solidarity in their shared struggles against discrimination and police brutality, with many African American activists even collaborating with Chicano organizations on protests and demonstrations. The Black Power movement particularly influenced the Chicano movement's radical tactics and embrace of cultural identity. Both African Americans and Chicanos face similar issues like police brutality, poor education, and economic inequality, leading to a sense of shared struggle. Chicano organizations like the Brown Berets drew inspiration from Black Panthers, and some protests like the East LA walkouts involved collaborations between Black and Chicano activists. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. publicly expressed support for the Chicano movement, particularly to the farm worker rights campaign led by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. African American and Chicano activists often marched together during major protests and demonstrations, supporting each other's causes for civil rights and equal opportunities. This cross-racial solidarity strengthened both movements and
see, she don't know what she's talking about. She's not an FBA woman, but she's talking about the solidarity and unity between Black and Latino communities when that's never been the truth. Latinos have used Black people to elevate politically. They use Black people to elevate in society. Latinos have never agreed with Black folks in the way that they voted in their policies. Latino people have always voted the opposite of foundational Black Americans, which is why there's never been no unity. There's never been no coalition. In order to have a legitimate coalition, both parties must agree on something. They must vote on some of the same things. How can you have a coalition with a group of people when you guys don't have the same goals? You're looking for a different outcome. So therefore, there can never be a coalition between the Black and brown community. What's beneficial for Latinos ain't beneficial for foundational Black Americans and vice versa. So there can never be a real coalition. Not really. You might have pockets of people that agree with each other, but collectively, there can never be no Black and brown coalition just based on the way that FBA people vote, just based on the way that Latinos vote. Latinos vote. It's completely different. Latinos vote completely different from foundational Black Americans. If you think different and you vote different, how the hell are you going to have a coalition? It makes no sense.
Help highlight broader struggles faced by marginalized communities in the U.S. Needless to say, Black and Brown United work so well together because they've always been looked down as second-class citizens in the U.S.
Hispanics practice Jim Crow against Black Americans in Houston. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. At Houston Community College, right? The Chandler Caesar, he's a Hispanic man. He got together with the director of HR and the board of trustees, and they came up with this plan to get rid of Black employees at high positions. They did anything from putting false complaints in their folders so they could get demoted or get fired. And then they replaced these Black employees with Hispanics. Hispanics went up. The hiring for Hispanics went up 50%. These three individuals orchestrated the plan. And this is what they stated in their emails. Now, we Hispanics are going to receive preferential treatment. This plan was successful, targeting Black top employees. Now they got a class action suit against Houston Community College for $100 million. They have to come up with some type of settlement by 2026. But yeah, let Houston tell it. They'll tell you like brown and Black unity.
Across America, tension is rising between Black and Hispanic folks. Well, this is all because Hispanics say Blacks don't always stand with them when it's time to help them, and especially during the immigration and deportation crisis, they felt alone when ICE was raiding their communities. And now, but many Black Americans say they face discrimination from Hispanics, claiming they often feel unwelcomed in workplaces, schools, and neighborhoods, and claim that some Hispanics feel superior over Blacks. And this divide, let me give you a little history about this divide. This divide goes way back.
Why are Africans telling us about the divide, man? I mean, hey, man, listen. I don't know why Africans feel the need, but hey, man, it is what it is. I'm not finna shit on the Africans, but hey, man, when it's time to correct them, I will. It's like when it's time to correct anybody else, I will. But you got a lot of Africans making these videos about foundational Black Americans and their relationship with Latinos, when Africans should be more focused on protecting the continent of Africa so that Chinese and Europeans don't come take, so that Chinese and Europeans won't take over. How come you got all those white folks in South Africa taking over? You got all those Chinese in Africa taking over. You got Arabs in Africa taking over. You need to be worried about what's going on in Africa, not worried about the United States of America. Fix your damn homeland. Africans are the majority on the African continent, but at the same time, they allow groups of people, small groups of people, to dominate them and conquer them. Imagine if foundational Black Americans was the majority in the United States of America. We would run this country. Africans in Africa are the majority, and they still can't stop Europeans and other groups from colonizing their damn land and taking over. And they represent the majority of the population over there. If foundational Black Americans was the majority over here, we would take over instantly with no problem. It'd be easy work, easy like Sunday morning.
The 1960s and 1970s, when both groups fought for civil rights but ended competing for jobs, housing, and power. Today on social media, Blacks accuse Latinos of siding with the white supremacists, while Latinos accuse Blacks of ignoring the struggle with ICE and deportations. Well, still, both communities share the same.
Africans need to worry about dominating their country, where they represent the majority of the population. How you gonna be the majority of the population over there, but you let foreigners come over to dominate you? Make it make sense. You sound stupid. Fix Africa. Create unity in Africa. Protect your damn country. Protect your damn continent. How you gonna be the majority of the population, but you allow small groups of people to dominate you and conquer you on your own damn land? Make it make sense.
Of racism, inequality, and neglect, but maybe all we need right now is unity.
That's a fact. White people are afraid of foundational Black Americans, and we're only 13 to 14%, and they're scared of us at 13 to 14%. Now imagine if America was 30% foundational Black Americans, we would take over. We wouldn't even need to have the majority of the population. If America was 30% FBA, we would take over easily because we have the power, we have the influence, but we got to get Black people out of that feminist mindset, because female leadership and a matriarchal society has destroyed the FBA community. So if you're talking about white supremacists, but you want to talk about feminism, I don't want to hear nothing you got to say, because you're pandering to FBA people for money, because you know that they're gullible and dumb, and you're taking full advantage of it. 100%. I don't want to hear no FBA man talking about white supremacy if he ain't gonna talk about feminism and how feminism has destroyed Black male leadership in our community. I don't want to hear nothing from you. I'm sick of these panda bears in the FBA community who are similar to the Black pastors and Black preachers at the Black church. They talk about white supremacy all day, but they never address feminism and how that has destroyed Black male leadership in the FBA community. Gonna talk about white supremacy all damn day, but won't talk about feminism. Man, please, I don't want to hear nothing you got to say at that point. You are pandering to gullible FBA people. You're no different than a Black pastor at the Black church. You're no different than a Black preacher at the Black church. Talking about white supremacy, but want to address feminism and how feminism has destroyed Black leadership, Black male leadership in the FBA community. Man, please, I don't want to hear nothing from you.
And it seems impossible, but I believe it's still possible, but only if they realize the real enemy isn't each other. It's the system divide.
All right, man, we're going to get up out of here, man. I've been here for an hour and 30 minutes. Peace, love, and blessings. Hit the like button. Talking about white supremacy, but won't address feminism and how that's destroyed Black male leadership in the FBA community. Man, I don't want to hear nothing. I'm out of here, man. Peace to everybody. I appreciate everybody for supporting the show. They're nothing but a bunch of panda bears. They're no different from the black pastors and the black preachers of the black church talking about white supremacy all day, but won't talk about feminism. Won't talk about how the majority of FBA women believe in a matriarchal society and female leadership. Hell no, they won't talk about that. Peace, love, and blessings, giving you gain to keep you from stretching. It's King Supreme. I'm gone.